My fiancé declared, "Cancel the wedding. I found someone superior." I replied, "It's already canceled." What I didn't mention was that I'd been plotting my departure for months when she uncovered where her hidden savings account funds had truly vanished. I, 29 male, am in my bare apartment at the moment. Boxes stacked, lease expiring tomorrow. Feels bizarre writing this, but I have to share with somebody. 6 hours back, my fiancée, Natalie, 27, pulled me aside for the discussion. Wedding was slated for 8 weeks from now. She wore the gown I gifted her for her birthday, hairstyled as if heading out for something fancy. Should have been my initial hint. "We need to call off the wedding," she said, avoiding my gaze. "I've met someone better." The statement landed precisely as I'd anticipated. See, I'd been gearing up for this instant for 3 months. 3 months of awareness, but silence. 3 months of strategizing while she assumed she was outsmarting me. "It's already done," I said. Her head jerked up. "What?" "I canceled it all last week. Venue, catering, photographer, recovered most deposits too." The expression on her face total bewilderment. In her head, this was her grand theatrical reveal. She'd deliver the shock I'd plead. She'd exit feeling triumphant. Instead, I stayed composed. Prepared. How did you? "No, Natalie. You've been out till 3 a.m. for months. You switched your phone password. You conceal your screen when texting. I'm not an idiot." She attempted to regroup. "Well, fine. Makes this simpler. I'll collect my belongings your belongings are in the garage. 3 boxes, labeled another shocked glance. You packed my things? Tuesday, while you were at your book club. Air quotes. Petty? Perhaps. Gratifying? Absolutely. Here's what Natalie was unaware of. I learned about Garrett, 31, her colleague 3 months prior, not via prying. She simply left her iPad open to her messages on the kitchen counter. Saw sufficient to grasp the situation. Rather than confronting her, I got tactical. Initial move? Consulted a lawyer. We weren't wed yet, but cohabiting for 2 years. Wanted clarity on my rights, her rights, what I could or couldn't do. Discovered some fascinating details about our setup. See, we'd been stashing cash for the wedding and a home. Had a setup where each contributed to individual savings accounts. She demanded separate, not combined. Warning sign, I overlooked. She managed hers. I managed mine. We planned to merge them post-wedding. What Natalie didn't grasp was her covert savings account. The one she figured I didn't know about. Wasn't as covert as she believed. Months earlier, she'd requested my help setting up online banking. I observed her create the login, noted her typical password habit, never utilized that info. Until 3 months ago. When I reviewed it, yes, I know, ethically questionable, I discovered she'd been shifting funds from our wedding savings to this covert one. Roughly $200 monthly. Balance hovered around $4,800. But here's the twist. The account remained tied to her outdated checking from college. An account her parents had co-signed. An account that, thanks to sloppy banking, still listed her dad Theodore as a joint holder. Theodore, who loathes cheaters after his first wife ditched him for another. Theodore, whom I'd bonded with over the years. Theodore, whom I'd lunched with last month, casually noting his daughter seemed remote lately. I'm withdrawing my share from the wedding account, Natalie said, attempting to seize control. All of it. Sure, your portions are yours. I pulled out my phone, displayed the banking app. Already shifted your $3,600 to your checking this morning. That's it. What about the rest? What rest? That's precisely what you contributed. I have the records. She paled. Began mental calculations. See, she'd claimed she was adding $500 monthly, but only deposited $300. The other $200 went to her covert fund. In her view, she had at least $10,000 across both. Reality? About $8,400 total. This isn't correct. I saved more. No, you claimed you were saving more. Huge gap. She rose, furious now. Fine. Whatever. Garrett earns 3 times your salary anyway. Garrett, finally named. The marketing exec who'd been promising her the stars, whining and dining her on his expense tab, gifting jewelry she had to conceal, making her feel she was upgrading. Good for Garrett, I said. Hope he's fine with your spending patterns. What's that mean? I shrugged. Nothing. Just that you dropped $400 on a handbag last week while claiming we needed to trim wedding costs. Fascinating priorities. She snatched her phone, began texting frantically. Likely Garrett, summoning him to fetch her. Oh, I added casually. About your savings? The hidden one? Might want to check that. She froze. How do you... Natalie, you used your birthday for the password after switching from your dog's name, which you also used for your laptop. You're not precisely a genius. She launched her banking app. I watched her expression shift as she viewed the balance. What did you do? Me? Nothing. Your dad, though? He noticed odd activity on an account he co-owns, as his right. Relocated the funds to safeguard them. You should phone him. The following 20 minutes were stunning disarray. She dialed her father, yelling about theft, insisting on her money back. I could hear Theodore's steady voice through the speaker. Natasha shared some intriguing details about Garrett. About how you've been acting. That cash was for your wedding, not your fling. It's in a fixed deposit now. You can access it when you truly wed to someone who isn't already wed. Oh yeah. That was the other revelation. Garrett? Wed with 2 children. Natalie didn't know until Theodore just informed her. Theodore's golf pal works at Garrett's firm. Tiny world. She ended the call, glared at me with raw loathing. You spiteful bastard. Spiteful? Natalie, you were scheming to humiliate me. You sent out wedding invites while selecting outfits for dates with another guy. I'm merely shielding myself. I'll sue you. And my father... You can't. Your father can totally manage an account he co-owns. I never touched your funds. And that $3,600, that's every cent you added to our wedding fund. What exactly are you suing over? She phoned Garrett, accidentally on speaker. His irritated voice echoed. Nat, I told you not to call my work line. Look, about tonight, something arose, family matter. Can we reschedule? Reschedule? I just ditched Ryan. I need you to come pick me up. Long silence. Ditched him? What do you mean? I informed him about us. As we planned. We didn't plan anything. Christ, Natalie, I have to go. Click. The expression on her face. Reality slamming like a locomotive. No fiancé, no contingency plan, no covert savings, no housing, lease solely in my name. She made more calls. Pals suddenly occupied. Her sister, who couldn't handle your chaos right now, finally summoned an Uber to her mom's. As she waited, hauling her boxes to the door, she glanced back once more. I hope you're pleased. You've wrecked everything. No, Natalie. You wrecked everything. I just refuse to let you wreck me too. The Uber arrived. She departed without another word. I'm relocating tomorrow. Already secured a role in another city. New beginning. The apartment's vacant save for my items. All boxed and set. 3 months of feigning normalcy while observing her deceive me face to face. 3 months of meticulous preparation. 3 months of allowing her to believe she held the reins. Worth every instant. Update 1. Damn, the arrogance is beyond measure. So I'm in my new city, crashing at an extended stay hotel while scouting apartments. Blocked Natalie everywhere before departing, but she knows my email. Woke to 19 messages. 19 began with fury. You're a psychopath who schemes like this. Shifted to negotiation. Can we discuss? I erred, but we can fix this. ended with warnings. I know your workplace now. I'll tell them your character. That last one amused me. She assumes she knows my job from spotting my LinkedIn update. What she doesn't know, I haven't begun yet. Don't start for 2 more weeks. Also, my new firm specifically recruited me. Doubt they'll mind X-drama. But the emails weren't the highlight. No, the highlight was the text from Theodore. Theodore, Ryan, hope you're adjusting well. Figured you should know Natalie tried accessing the fixed deposit. Bank flagged it as possible fraud since she's unauthorized. Had to lock all my accounts now. Also, she's claiming you turned me against her. My daughter, who deceived for months, accuses manipulation. The irony. Then he forwarded a screenshot of a text she sent him. Dad, you must return my money. Ryan poisoned you against me. Garrett was merely a pal, nothing occurred. I need that cash for new housing. This is monetary abuse. Theodore's reply, the only abuse I see is of trust others gave you. The funds remain. But wait, it escalates. Yesterday, a call from the wedding venue. Recall how I said I canceled it all? The venue offers a solid cancellation policy. Full refund if canceled 6+ weeks prior. Recovered our $3,000 deposit. Here's where Natalie botched it. When booking, she demanded to be primary contact to oversee planning. Fine by me. But when I canceled, I did it via phone, saying I was calling for the couple. They processed it, emailed confirmation to the on-file address, hers. She apparently ignored that email for days, only learned when she phoned the venue to reschedule for her and Garrett. The nerve. They informed her the booking was voided and refunded. She demanded the refund's whereabouts. To the card that paid the deposit, my card, to another email. That venue cash is half mine. You stole from me. I forwarded that to my attorney pal. Not formally hired, just a college buddy. He chuckled. She wants half a canceled wedding venue for a wedding she terminated? Good luck. But the true gem came this morning. Recall Garrett? Mr. Triple my salary marketing chief? I know someone adjacent to his firm. They shared intriguing info. Garrett's on administrative leave. Evidently, using your company card for dates with your side chick is frowned upon. Especially when your wife's divorce attorney subpoenas the records. Yeah, his spouse learned. Unsure if Natalie's calls to his work line or what, but she learned. And she's not messing around. So Natalie's grand scheme of upgrading left her with lost her fiancé, me, lost her home, lost her hidden savings, lost her side guy, burned ties with pals weary of her turmoil, infuriated her father who controls the sole funds she thought she had, and now Garrett's likely losing his role and half his wealth in divorce. Meanwhile, I'm here with my complete wedding fund, minus her portions I refunded. Venue refund, new beginning in a new city, role paying 40% more than my previous, serenity. The arrogance, though. She truly believed she could swing from me to Garrett while retaining me as safety net. Truly believed her covert savings made her shrewd. Truly believed no repercussions. My top email from her? You don't grasp what you've caused. I was set to have it all. Yeah, Natalie, you were. And you discarded it for a wed man who merely used you. More notes as the madness persists. Because something says she's not finished. Update 2. The meltdown has, wait, no, this isn't that. This is raw, unfiltered arrogance clashing with reality and losing miserably. So recall how Natalie figured she was getting it all? Well, she's been active. Desperately, frantically active. First, she pursued the monetary route. Hired a lawyer, a real lawyer. Except what do you hire a lawyer for when unmarried, childless, and asset-free? She aimed to sue for one, mental harm from me nixing the wedding. 2, her portion of the venue refund. 3, the pilfered savings account cash. 4, lost earnings from relocating to her mom's. Her lawyer lasted 1 meeting. Likely told her no case. I know this because Theodore texted me. She requested I fund a lawyer to sue you and me. I suggested she use her cash. She ended the call. Next, she roped in our shared pals. Began phoning wedding invitees, weaving this pity tale about how I'd financially mistreated her and cornered her into infidelity. Yeah, she actually claimed I drove her to cheat by being emotionally distant. Issue? Our pals aren't fools. Her top pal, Jess, phoned me. Did Natalie truly claim you compelled her to date Garrett? Because she told me 3 months back she was smitten with him and plotting to ditch you post-wedding to snag gifts first. Post. The wedding. For gifts. I sent Jess a thank you note for sparing me that horror. But here's where it truly shines. Natalie figured if she couldn't extract cash from me or her dad, she'd get it from Garrett. Began hounding him, phoning his office. The line he warned her against. Appearing at his workplace, insisting he owned ruining her existence. Security escorted her out. Twice. Garrett, scrambling to salvage his marriage and career, did the sole option available. He scapegoated Natalie. Informed his wife Natalie chased him relentlessly, that she ignored rejection, that he aimed to stay professional, but she misinterpreted cues. Total nonsense, but his wife wanted to buy it. So now Natalie's receiving legal notices from all sides. Garrett's divorce attorney, cease and desist for reaching their client. His firm's HR official no trespass alert. She emailed me about this too. See what you've triggered. Garrett's wife is threatening me with a no-contact order. This is your doing. My doing. Her affair partner's wife wanting her gone is my doing. But the summit of arrogance hit yesterday. A call from my former apartment building. The kind manager, Rosa, who always recalled my name. Mr. Ryan, apologies for disturbing you, but we have an issue. Ms. Natalie's here demanding entry to your old unit. Claims she has items there. Rosa, I vacated 4 days ago. Handed over keys. Did the inspection with you. The unit's empty. I know, sir. I explained that. She insists you concealed her grandmother's ring somewhere inside. Her grandmother's ring. The woman never met her grandmother's. Both passed before her birth. She was attempting to claim I held some heirloom to gain access to... What? An empty unit? Rosa, there's no ring. She's fabricating. Please don't allow her in. Oh, I won't. But sir, she's causing a commotion. Should I summon police? I could hear Natalie yelling in the background about theft, heirlooms, legal entitlements. If she doesn't depart, yes. 10 minutes later, Rosa texted. Police arrived. She left. Very upset. Apologies for the hassle. Later learned from Jess what the ringtail was about. Natalie believed I might have left something valuable behind by error, perhaps stashed cash or overlooked forwarding address for financial papers. She fabricated the grandmother's ring to try accessing the apartment she observed me clear entirely, the apartment where she boxed her own items, that apartment. She's now claiming I pilfered her invaluable family heirloom and police are probing. The police who just ejected her from private premises for trespassing. Theodore texted me again last evening. She requested I state her grandmother's ring is worth $50,000 to file an insurance claim. I reminded her both grandmothers were interred with their rings. She labeled me a family betrayer. The delusion persists. Meanwhile, I began my new role this week. Adore it. Strong team, higher pay, genuine advancement. Located a pleasant apartment downtown. Life's excellent. Natalie's with her mom, jobless, resigned anticipating Garrett's support, banned from Garrett's workplace, branded a homewrecker in her social sphere, and fabricating phantom heirlooms to wring cash from anywhere possible. The arrogance is staggering. She truly can't grasp that her decisions yielded repercussions. In her view, she was meant to depart me for Garrett, retain the funds, claim the presents, live the dream. Instead, she got precisely what she merited. Zilch. Still receiving daily emails. Still ignoring them. My attorney pal advises keeping them for records if she intensifies. Something suggests we're not through yet. Final update. Time for the closing update, and wow, did Natalie deliver a spectacular finale. 3 weeks ago, the emails ceased, just halted. After weeks of daily tirades, allegations, and warnings, abruptly, nothing. I should have realized she was scheming something. My pal Keith, still in my old city, phoned me last week. Dude, did you know Natalie's been claiming you perished? I'm sorry. What? Yeah, man. She's sharing everywhere on social media about losing her soulmate in a tragic mishap, soliciting sympathy donations and all. Donations? This woman was mock-grieving me for cash. Keith sent screenshots, sepia photos of us from happier times, ironically. Lengthy posts about sorrow and recovery. A GoFundMe for burial costs and mourning time. She'd collected $3,200. But here's where Natalie erred critically. She overlooked that social media is communal. Donors began querying. What occurred? Where's the obituary? When's the service? Her replies kept varying. Car crash. No. Occupational accident. Actually, abrupt ailment. The service was intimate. No, postponed. Actually, cremation sans ceremony. My ex-colleague Pablo, bless him, opted to challenge her publicly. That's odd, because Ryan just endorsed me on LinkedIn yesterday. The remarks detonated, folks realizing I was very much alive, insisting on refunds, threatening fraud reports. Natalie attempted harm mitigation. It's metaphorical. He's dead to me. You all misconstrued. No one accepted it. But wait, there's more. Theodore phoned me, chuckling so hard he could scarcely speak. Ryan, you'll never credit this. She requested I verify you died so she could claim your life insurance. What life insurance? Precisely. She figured since engaged, she'd auto-be your beneficiary. I had to clarify that's not how it functions. The GoFundMe shut down. She refunded everyone. Several reported her to authorities for fraud, unsure if charges followed, but the public shaming was total. Then the ultimate frantic gambit. Recall how I noted I'd been quite tactical about this? Well, one action was documenting all. Every deceit, every text confessing the affair, every mad email. I never shared it publicly. Just retained it for self-protection. Natalie somehow persuaded herself I must be plotting to reveal her and resolved to preempt me. She built a website, mytruthaboutryan.com, not sharing, it's vanished anyway. On this site, she shared what she termed proof of my mistreatment. Screenshots of me saying okay when she claimed late nights, evidence I was domineering. Or bank records showing I earned more, proof I was financially oppressing her. Photos of her boxes in the garage, proof I evicted her. She dispatched the link to all, my pals, family, ex-co-workers, even tried locating my new firm. One minor flaw, she included screenshots of her own text to Garrett, where she dubbed me pathetic and said she was merely using him till Superior arrived, where she confessed fabricating wedding fund inputs, where she mocked me not knowing. She literally self-exposed. My top reply came from Aunt Martha. Sweetheart, this site paints you as the antagonist, not him. The site endured 72 hours before she erased it. But the web is eternal, and many snagged screenshots. The consequences. Natalie's now utterly toxic in our prior social sphere. The mock death fundraiser was the ultimate blow for all. Even Jess, who aimed neutral, severed her. Garrett's divorce concluded, he lost his role and pays hefty alimony. His ex-spouse actually messaged me on Facebook. Thanks for removing that leech from my husband. She ultimately aided me long-term. Theodore disowned her, not formally but effectively, stated she's solo till she grasps truth. That fixed deposit? He donated it to a charity aiding struggling single mothers, folks who truly require aid. Natalie's mom ousted her after police arrived over fraud claims. Latest rumor, she's sofa surfing and employed at a mall cell phone booth. As for me, life's superb. Adore the new role, new city, new apartment. Began dating someone, proceeding gradually, But she's incredible, truthful, self-reliant, has her own ambitions. Funny aspect of repercussions. Natalie devoted so much effort evading them, scheming around them, that she forged worse ones for herself. If she'd merely parted honestly, she'd have her $3,600, her pride, and likely a fresh romance. Instead, she attempted to manipulate all and ended up manipulating solely herself. I'm finished pondering her, finished scanning for emails, finished caring what she does next. She's penniless, isolated, and notorious for staging my death for cash. That's not vengeance. That's merely the organic outcome of her decisions. Thanks for tracking this chaotic journey. Heading to erase this account and advance with my life. A vastly superior life than I'd ever have shared with her. Recall, when someone reveals their nature, trust it. And when they aim to sabotage you, ensure you're already 3 moves ahead. Farewell.
Hello. My fiancée cheated on me and still expected me to pay for her girl's trip, saying that refusing would be controlling. When I stopped funding it and walked away instead, she fell apart in front of the same friend she had been bragging to about her freedom. My name is Evan. I am 34 and I work as a procurement analyst for a hospital network in Charlotte. My job is basically contracts, spreadsheets, vendor problems, and making sure nobody notices me because things are running on time. My life is structured, which I like. I am up early, I keep a budget, and I do not make chaos for fun. My fiancée is Brooke. She is 31 and works in event marketing for a boutique agency. We had been together just under 4 years, engaged for 8 months, and living together for a little over a year when this happened. Brooke is the kind of person who treats every normal inconvenience like a personal insult. Wrong coffee order, bad traffic, delayed package, someone using the last clean wine glass. Everything became a performance. At first I wrote it off as stress because her job is heavy on clients, image, and constant smiling. After a while I realized that was just how she was when something did not revolve around her. We had already started paying deposits for the wedding. Nothing huge or flashy, but enough that the planning had become real. Venue, photographer, save the dates, all that boring adult stuff that only matters because it costs money. I was covering more than half of it because I earned more and because Brooke always had some reason her money was tied up. A work dinner she had to front. A dress she supposedly needed for an event. A weekend trip with friends that was good for networking somehow. I noticed a pattern before I admitted it to myself. Anything fun for Brooke was urgent. Anything shared was negotiable. Rent had to be split carefully. Groceries had to be discussed. Wedding expenses required long talks. But if Brooke wanted a spa weekend, new luggage, or expensive skincare because her face was under stress, suddenly I was expected to be supportive instead of practical. About 2 months before everything blew up, Brooke started acting weird with her phone. Not subtle weird either. Smiling at it and turning the screen away. Taking calls on the balcony. Sleeping with it under her pillow like she was hiding state secrets. When I asked about it, she got instantly hostile and told me that not every part of her life was my business just because we were engaged. That answer sat with me. Then her friends started mentioning a girl's trip to Miami like it was some big reward Brooke deserved before the wedding. She talked about it nonstop. Flights, matching outfits, beach clubs, hotel upgrades. The whole thing sounded way more expensive than her half of the wedding payments she kept postponing. I did not say much at first. Then one Thursday night, I saw a message flash across her phone screen while she was in the shower. And that was the moment the whole situation stopped feeling vague and started feeling very specific. The message popped up on Brooke's phone while it was sitting on the kitchen counter. She had left it there when she went to shower, and I was just standing nearby, making coffee before work. I was not snooping. The screen lit up on its own. What caught my attention was the preview. It said something like last night was worth the risk. Then there was a name I did not recognize. I stared at it for a few seconds trying to convince myself there was some normal explanation. Maybe a coworker joking about something. Maybe someone talking about a work event. But the longer I looked at it, the less normal it felt. The wording alone sounded wrong. I did not unlock her phone. I did not scroll through anything. I just stood there thinking about the last 2 months. The secret phone behavior. The weird defensiveness whenever I asked simple questions. The sudden obsession with going out more often without me. All those things started lining up in a way that made a lot more sense than I wanted them to. A minute later, Brooke came back into the kitchen wrapped in a towel, scrolling through her phone immediately like she always did. I watched her face when she saw the message. That moment told me everything. Her expression changed instantly. Not surprise. Not confusion. More like panic that someone else might have seen it. She glanced up and noticed me looking at her. Then she did something that people only do when they know exactly what is going on. She locked the screen and flipped the phone face down. I asked her who was texting her that early. Brooke answered too fast. She said it was a co-worker asking about an event schedule. The problem was she did not ask how I knew someone texted her. She went straight into an explanation. That is usually a bad sign. I just nodded and did not push further right then. There is no point arguing when someone is already in defensive mode. But that message stuck in my head the entire day. And later that night something happened that removed the last bit of doubt I had about what was really going on. That evening Brooke said she was going out with coworkers. That by itself was not unusual. Her job involved a lot of networking events and after-work drinks. Normally she would tell me where they were going or what kind of event it was. This time the explanation was vague. She said it was just a small group thing and she might be home late. The tone already felt defensive before I even asked anything. Around 10 that night, I was on the couch watching a game when one of Brooke's friends posted an Instagram story. Her friends tag each other constantly, so their posts show up on my feed whether I look for them or not. The video was from some late-night house party one of their friends was hosting. Loud music, people crowded into the living room, plastic cups everywhere, the kind of chaotic gathering where half the people probably did not even know the person whose house it was. I saw Brooke almost immediately. She was standing near the kitchen island with a group of people I did not recognize. One of them was a guy with his arm resting comfortably around her waist like it had been there all night. Brooke was leaning toward him laughing. Not the polite laugh she uses with clients. The relaxed one. The kind you use when you are completely comfortable with someone. The video only lasted about 10 seconds, but it was enough. The guy leaned down and said something into her ear. Brooke tilted her head toward him and smiled in a way I had not seen directed at me in a while. Then the story ended. I watched it twice just to make sure I was not reading too much into it. But there is a point where your brain stops trying to be charitable and just accepts what it is looking at. I did not text her. I did not call. Instead, I closed the app and sat there thinking about the message I saw that morning. Last night was worth the risk. That line suddenly made a lot more sense. Brooke came home around 1 in the morning. She walked in quietly like she did not want to wake me up. The problem was I was still sitting in the living room with the lights on. The second she saw me awake, her entire body language changed. She asked why I was still up. I told her I had seen the video her friend posted. And that was the moment the conversation stopped being vague and started getting very direct. Brooke froze for a second when I mentioned the video. It was subtle, but you could see the moment her brain started calculating what I might have seen. Then she switched immediately into defense mode. She rolled her eyes and asked if I was seriously stalking her friend's social media now. That was her first move. Not asking what exactly I saw. Not explaining anything. Just trying to flip the situation back onto me. I told her I was not stalking anyone. The story popped up on my feed, and I recognized her in it. Then I mentioned the guy with his arm around her. That was when her expression hardened. Brooke sighed dramatically and tossed her purse onto the counter like I was the one exhausting her. She said it was just a friend from the party, and people were standing close because the place was crowded. I did not argue with her. Instead, I told her exactly what I had seen that day. I reminded her about the message that popped up on her phone that morning. The one that said last night was worth the risk. I explained how she locked the screen the second she noticed I might have seen it. Then I told her about the video from the party. The guy with his arm around her waist. The way she was leaning into him like that was normal. While I was talking, she kept trying to interrupt. She said I was twisting things. She said I was making assumptions. But I just kept going. I told her that whether she admitted it or not, the situation looked exactly like what it was. And the bigger problem was that instead of being honest, she was trying to gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. At that point, the conversation stopped being complicated. I told her very calmly that I was not interested in marrying someone who behaved like this. Brooke stared at me like she expected the argument to continue. Instead, I told her she should start packing her things. For a moment, she just blinked at me. Then she laughed like I had just said something ridiculous. She asked if I was seriously throwing her out over a misunderstanding. I told her it was not a misunderstanding, and the engagement was over. For a few seconds, Brooke just stood there staring at me like I had said something completely unreasonable. Then she laughed. Not nervous laughter. The dismissive kind she used whenever she thought someone was overreacting. She asked if I was seriously ending our engagement over what she kept calling a misunderstanding. I told her it stopped being a misunderstanding the moment she started lying about it. That made her expression change immediately. Brooke hates being called out directly. During our relationship, she always preferred to argue around the issue instead of admitting anything. She crossed her arms and told me I was blowing things way out of proportion. According to her, nothing actually happened. The guy from the party was just someone she met through friends. They were talking. That was it. Then she said something that really showed how she viewed the situation. She told me even if something had happened, it would not justify me throwing her out of the apartment. The way she said it made it sound like loyalty was optional, but my reaction was the real problem. I reminded her of something important. This apartment was in my name. The lease, the rent, the utilities. Everything. She moved in after we got engaged because it made planning the wedding easier. So I explained the situation as clearly as possible. If she had been honest when I asked, maybe we could have at least talked about what was happening. But lying to my face and then calling me controlling for questioning, it was not something I was going to build a marriage on. Brooke's attitude shifted the moment she realized I was not backing down. She stopped laughing. Instead, she started arguing. She said I was being dramatic. She said couples work through things like this all the time. She even suggested I was sabotaging our future because I could not handle a little uncertainty. I listened for about 30 seconds before interrupting her. Then I repeated the same sentence I had already said. The engagement was over, and she needed to pack her things. That was the moment Brooke finally understood I was serious. And her reaction changed completely. The moment Brooke realized I was serious, her whole attitude flipped. The dismissive confidence disappeared almost instantly. First, she tried guilt. She asked if I was really willing to throw away 4 years together over one situation. She started bringing up the wedding plans, the deposits, the fact that our families already knew about the engagement. Then she said something that was clearly meant to pressure me. She said everyone would think I overreacted. I told her that was fine. People can think whatever they want. That answer did not help her mood. Brooke paced around the living room for a minute, clearly trying to figure out which tactic might work next. Eventually, she switched strategies. Suddenly, she started acting calm again. She said maybe we both needed a little space to cool down. Maybe I should sleep on the decision and we could talk about it again tomorrow like adults. I told her there was nothing to sleep on. The decision was already made. That was when the anger showed up. She asked if I was seriously kicking her out in the middle of the night. I pointed out that it was barely past 1 in the morning, and she had just come back from a party with the guy she was clearly entertaining behind my back. So yes, she needed to start packing. Brooke muttered something under her breath and walked into the bedroom. I followed a minute later just to make sure the situation stayed focused on packing instead of arguing. She started throwing clothes into a suitcase aggressively, like every shirt had personally offended her. While she packed, she kept talking, mostly complaining about how unfair I was being. Then she said something that almost made me laugh. She reminded me that her girl's trip to Miami was already planned for the following month and asked what she was supposed to do now. At first I thought she was joking, but she was completely serious. Brooke explained that since we had been splitting wedding expenses, I was supposed to help cover part of the Miami trip too. According to her, it was basically a pre-wedding celebration. Then she said refusing to pay for it would be controlling. That was the moment I realized she still had not understood the situation at all. For a second, I honestly thought Brooke was joking. We had just ended our engagement. She was packing her things because she had been caught entertaining another guy behind my back. And somehow the thing she was worried about was whether I was still paying for her Miami girls trip. I asked her to repeat what she just said. She sighed like I was the one being difficult and explained it again. The trip was already planned. Flights, hotel, reservations. According to her, it was basically part of the wedding timeline, and I had originally agreed to help cover some of it. Then she said something that perfectly captured her mindset. She told me refusing to pay now would be controlling. I just stared at her for a moment, trying to understand how someone could be this disconnected from reality. So I explained the situation as clearly as possible. There was no wedding anymore, which meant there was no pre-wedding trip, which also meant I was not funding a vacation for someone who had just cheated on me. Brooke immediately got defensive. She said I was being petty. According to her, the trip had nothing to do with what happened tonight. It was about her celebrating with her friends before getting married. I reminded her that the marriage part had just ended about 15 minutes earlier. That did not seem to register. Instead, she started complaining about how embarrassing it would be if she had to cancel. Her friends were expecting the trip. Everyone already knew about it. Then she said something that really showed where her priorities were. She told me she had already been talking about the trip with her friends and bragging about how much freedom she still had even while being engaged. Apparently, the Miami trip was supposed to prove she was not tied down. Hearing that honestly made the entire situation feel even more ridiculous. I told her that if she wanted to go celebrate her freedom in Miami, she was welcome to do that. She just was not doing it with my money. Brooke stared at me for a few seconds, clearly furious. Then she grabbed her suitcase, muttered something about how her friends would understand her side of the story, and walked out of the apartment. Later that night, I found out she had gone straight to one of their places. And that was where things really started falling apart for her. I did not hear anything from Brooke for a couple of days after she left. Honestly, I was fine with that. The apartment was quiet again, which felt strange after living together for over a year. I spent the weekend doing boring practical things. Changing the passwords on a few shared accounts, canceling the catering deposit, emailing the venue to explain that the wedding was no longer happening. It was not exactly a fun weekend, but it was straightforward. Then Sunday afternoon my phone buzzed with a message from one of Brooke's friends. Her name is Kayla. We were not close, but we had met plenty of times at birthdays and group dinners. The message was short. She asked if Brooke was actually serious about what she had told them. That immediately caught my attention. I asked what Brooke had said. Kayla replied with a screenshot. It was from a group chat Brooke had with several of her friends. Apparently, Brooke had shown up at Kayla's apartment with her suitcase and immediately started venting. The screenshot showed part of Brooke's rant. According to her version of events, I had thrown her out of the apartment over nothing. She said I got insecure and controlling because she went to a party with friends. Then she told them I was now refusing to pay for the Miami trip just to punish her. At the bottom of the screenshot, Brooke had written something else. She told them she had been bragging to everyone about how she could still do whatever she wanted even while engaged because I funded most of her lifestyle anyway. Reading that part actually made me pause. Not because it surprised me, because it confirmed exactly how she had been talking about me when I was not around. Kayla followed up with another message. She said Brooke had been crying and furious at the same time, going on about how unfair it was that I cut her off financially right before the trip. Then Kayla added something interesting. Apparently, not everyone in the room was automatically on Brooke's side. In fact, the moment someone asked why her fiancé suddenly ended the engagement, the story started falling apart pretty quickly. According to Kayla, the conversation in that apartment got awkward pretty quickly. At first, Brooke was very confident about her version of events. She told everyone I had overreacted, that I threw her out for no reason, and that now I was trying to punish her by refusing to pay for the Miami trip. But someone eventually asked the obvious question. Why did the engagement actually end? Brooke apparently tried to keep it vague. She said we had a fight, and that I was insecure about her having a life outside the relationship. That explanation worked for about 30 seconds. Then another friend asked about the guy she had been texting. Kayla told me Brooke's entire attitude changed at that point. She got defensive immediately. According to the people in the room, Brooke tried to downplay it. She said the guy was just someone she met at a party and that nothing serious happened. But the problem was that some of those same friends had already seen her flirting with him before. And once that part came out, the conversation shifted. Instead of everyone comforting her, people started asking more direct questions, like why she was talking to another guy like that while she was engaged, or why she expected me to keep paying for things after the relationship ended. Kayla said Brooke kept repeating the same argument, that I had originally agreed to help pay for the trip. That backing out now was controlling. Apparently, that logic did not land the way she expected. One of her friends pointed out something very simple. If the engagement was over, then the financial support that came with it was obviously over too. That was when Brooke apparently lost her composure. Kayla said she started crying and yelling about how unfair everything was. How embarrassing it would be if she had to cancel the Miami trip now after talking it up for weeks. And how I had ruined her plans just because I could not handle a little freedom in the relationship. By the end of the night, the mood in that apartment had completely shifted. Instead of celebrating their upcoming trip, Brooke was having a meltdown in front of the same friends she had been bragging to about her independence. And the worst part for her was that most of them were not actually defending her anymore. Kayla told me the whole situation ended in a way that was honestly hard not to picture. Brooke had spent weeks hyping up that Miami trip. According to her friends, she talked about it constantly. The beach clubs they were going to hit, the outfits she bought, the hotel they were staying at. More than once she apparently joked that getting married did not mean she had to give up her freedom. And part of that story involved me. She had been telling them that I covered a lot of her expenses anyway, so the trip was basically handled. In her mind, it was proof she could live however she wanted while still having the stability of a fiancé at home. But when she showed up at Kayla's place that night with a suitcase and a completely different story, the whole narrative collapsed. Once people realized the engagement ended because she was entertaining another guy behind my back, the sympathy disappeared quickly. And when she admitted that I was no longer paying for the trip, the tone of the room changed even more. Kayla said someone finally asked her a simple question. If you wanted all that freedom, why were you expecting him to keep funding it? Apparently, Brooke did not have a good answer. Instead, she got emotional. Kayla described it as a full meltdown, crying, yelling, complaining about how embarrassing it was going to be to cancel the trip after bragging about it for weeks. Some of the friends were trying to calm her down. Others were clearly annoyed that the entire situation was now awkward because of choices Brooke made herself. When Kayla finished telling me all that, she ended the message with one last comment. She said Brooke had spent the entire engagement talking about how independent she was. Now she was discovering what independence actually meant. After that conversation, I did not hear from Brooke again. No messages. No apologies. Nothing. And honestly, that was fine with me. Because the situation made one thing very clear. Someone who cheats on you while expecting you to keep funding their lifestyle is not a partner. They are a liability. And walking away from that was probably the smartest financial decision I made all year. Bye-bye. Hello. My fiancée said her trip to Vegas was a girls' only getaway. But when I checked the photos she was tagged in, her ex was clearly in the background. So while she enjoyed the trip, I canceled the wedding, packed my things, and moved into my other house. She came back to an empty apartment and very angry parents. My name is Adam. I am 34, and I work as a commercial insurance underwriter in Phoenix. My job is mostly spreadsheets, client calls, and reading risk reports, so I am used to paying attention to details and noticing when things do not line up. My fiancée is Dana, 32. We had been together for a little over 3 years, engaged for 8 months, and living together in an apartment downtown. We were supposed to get married in 6 weeks, and most of the big expenses were already paid. Dana had been talking for months about doing one last girls' trip before the wedding. Vegas, 2 nights, maybe 3. Just her and her 2 closest friends from college. I did not care. I am not one of those guys who needs a full itinerary and hourly updates. She told me the hotel, said it was going to be spa, drinks, pool, and one stupid nightclub for nostalgia. Fine. What bothered me was not the trip itself. It was how weird she got in the week before she left. She started guarding her phone in that casual fake way people do when they want to seem normal while doing the exact opposite. Screen down on every surface. Taking it into the bathroom. Smiling at messages and then acting irritated if I looked up. Not enough to accuse someone over, but enough to clock it. Then there was the ex. His name is Travis. As far as I knew, he was old history. They dated before me, ended badly according to her, and she always described him as immature, selfish, and beneath her, which honestly should have made me relax. Instead, it did the opposite, because I have learned that when someone spends years talking about how irrelevant a person is, that person usually is not irrelevant. 2 nights before her flight, I saw his name pop up on her lock screen while she was in the kitchen. It was only for a second, but I know what I saw. She came back, checked the phone, and her whole expression changed when she realized I had noticed it. Not guilty exactly. Annoyed. Like I had interrupted something. I asked why Travis was texting her this close to our wedding. She said I was being dramatic and that he was not texting her. He had just reacted to a story. Then she told me I was doing that controlling thing again, which was interesting because I had asked one question and had not raised my voice. That was the first moment I started quietly preparing for the possibility that this trip was not what she said it was. Dana left on a Friday morning flight. We had breakfast together before she called the ride to the airport. Nothing dramatic happened. No big fight. She acted completely normal, which almost made me feel stupid for noticing anything earlier in the week. She kissed me goodbye at the door, told me not to work all weekend, and joked that I would probably enjoy 2 quiet days without her reorganizing the apartment. That part was actually true. Dana liked control. Not in an aggressive way, more in a constant commentary kind of way. If I loaded the dishwasher wrong, she corrected it. If groceries were not arranged by category, she fixed them. Small stuff, but constant. Before she got into the car, she reminded me again that this was just a girls' trip. Her words. She said the 3 of them planned to mostly stay around the hotel. Spa during the day, drinks at night, maybe a show. She also said they were turning their phones off most of the time so they could disconnect and enjoy the trip properly. That sentence stuck with me. People who want to disconnect usually just disconnect. They do not pre-announce it like a policy update. Still, I told her to have fun and not worry about checking in with me. I meant that. If the trip was what she said it was, I had no issue. The first day went exactly how you would expect. I worked a half day, came home, ordered takeout, watched a game, and went to sleep early. She sent one photo in the afternoon of the hotel pool with a caption saying girls' weekend officially started. All three of them were in the picture. Nothing weird. Saturday morning, I woke up to two more photos in our chat. One was a brunch table. The other was a blurry nightclub shot from the night before. Again, nothing suspicious. The interesting part started Saturday afternoon. I was sitting on my couch scrolling through Instagram when I noticed Dana had been tagged in a photo by one of her friends from the trip. It was taken at the pool. Dana was in the foreground wearing sunglasses and holding a drink. Her friend was next to her laughing. It looked like a completely normal vacation photo. But in the background, sitting at a table behind them, was a guy wearing a black baseball cap turned backward. Even before I zoomed in, I already knew who it was. I zoomed in on the photo, and there was no doubt. It was Travis. Same build, same stupid backward cap he used to wear in old pictures Dana had shown me early in our relationship. He was sitting maybe 15 feet behind them at one of the pool tables with two other guys. Now, to be fair, Vegas is a big place and hotels are crowded. Two people being in the same pool area does not automatically mean they planned it. That is exactly what I told myself for about 30 seconds. Then I kept looking. The problem was not just that he was there. The problem was how comfortable the situation looked. He was not facing away from them like some random stranger. His chair was angled directly toward their table like someone who was part of the same group. Dana had not mentioned running into anyone. She had not texted anything like "guess who we randomly saw here." Nothing. If it had actually been a coincidence, most people would say something immediately just to get ahead of the obvious question. Instead, there was silence. So I did the boring thing my job has trained me to do. I looked at more information before jumping to a conclusion. I opened Travis's profile. He had posted a story about an hour earlier. Same hotel, same pool, different angle. And this time Dana was clearly visible sitting at the same table he was at. Not background, not accidental. Sitting with him. That was the moment everything clicked into place in a very calm way that honestly surprised me. No anger spike. No dramatic reaction. Just clarity. This was not a random run-in. If it had been, she would have told me. Dana loved controlling narratives, and she hated being caught in situations that could be misinterpreted. The only reason to say nothing was because it was not a coincidence. It was planned. And the thing that really made me stop caring about the wedding was realizing something else. She had not just lied about Travis being there. She had built the entire trip around the idea that I would never find out, which meant she thought I was either stupid or passive enough to ignore it. I closed the app, sat back on the couch, and started making a few very practical decisions about the next 6 weeks of my life. Once I saw Travis sitting at the same table as Dana, the whole situation became very simple. People imagine betrayal as some huge emotional explosion where you scream, confront someone, demand explanations. That is not how it felt for me. It felt more like closing a spreadsheet once the numbers stopped making sense. The wedding was 6 weeks away. Deposits were paid. My parents had flights booked. Dana had already started arguing with vendors about flower colors and chair layouts. But none of that mattered if the person you are about to marry is secretly meeting an ex on a trip that was specifically described as a girls-only getaway. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes and thought through the practical side. First question was easy. Was I going to confront her while she was still in Vegas? The answer was no. If someone is already lying and enjoying a weekend with their ex, the last thing I am going to do is provide live entertainment through angry texts. I was not interested in arguing with someone who was sitting at a pool bar pretending everything was normal. Second question was the wedding. That decision took about 30 seconds. You do not marry someone you cannot trust before the marriage even starts. So I opened my laptop and began canceling things. The venue coordinator was the first email. Short and direct. Wedding canceled due to personal circumstances. I understood the deposit was non-refundable. The caterer was next. Then the photographer. By the time I finished those messages, I already felt lighter than I had in weeks. After that, I called my parents. That was the only conversation where I had to explain anything. I told them exactly what I saw and exactly what I was doing. My dad was quiet for about 5 seconds and then said something very simple. Good. Handle it now instead of after the paperwork. My mom asked if I was sure. I told her yes. Then I did one more thing that made the whole situation very real. I started packing my things out of the apartment while Dana was still in Vegas enjoying her girls' trip. Packing was easier than I expected. The apartment technically belonged to both of us, but most of the furniture was hers. Dana cared a lot about aesthetics and had spent months picking out things that matched whatever style she was into at the time. I never fought her on it because I had somewhere else I could go if I ever needed space. That turned out to be useful. About 2 years ago, I bought a small house across town as a rental property. It had been empty for the last couple months while I was deciding whether to rent it again or renovate it. So when I started putting my clothes into boxes that afternoon, I already knew exactly where I was going. I focused only on things that were clearly mine. Clothes, my work setup, a few personal items, and some small furniture I had brought when we moved in together. I was not interested in fighting later over a coffee table or a lamp. By early evening, my car was full. Before leaving, I did one last quiet check through the apartment just to make sure I had not forgotten anything important. It felt strange walking through a place that had been our shared home while knowing the relationship was already finished and the other person had no idea yet. At around 7 that night, I locked the apartment door, put the key on the kitchen counter where she would see it when she came back, and left. Driving to the house felt strangely calm. No dramatic music moment. No anger building. Just the practical feeling that comes when a decision is already made and there is nothing left to debate. Once I got there, I carried everything inside and set up the basics. Bed, laptop, a couple boxes in the corner. Then I sat down and did one final thing before going to sleep. I sent a short message to Dana's parents explaining that the wedding had been canceled and that their daughter would probably want to talk to them when she returned from Vegas. Sending that message to her parents was not done out of spite. It was done for a very practical reason. Dana and I had already sent invitations. Family on both sides had flights booked, hotels reserved, and time taken off work. If I quietly disappeared and canceled everything without telling anyone, she would have been able to spin whatever version of the story she wanted. I was not interested in a public argument later about who ended the wedding or why. So the message I sent them was very direct and very calm. I explained that I had discovered Dana meeting her ex during what was supposed to be a girl's only trip to Las Vegas. Because of that, I had canceled the wedding and moved out of the apartment. I also told them that vendors had already been notified so they would not continue making payments or plans. No insults. No emotional language. Just facts. Her father responded about 20 minutes later. The message was short. He said he appreciated me telling them directly and that they would speak with Dana when she got home. That was it. I went to bed not really thinking about it anymore. Sunday was quiet. I spent most of the day setting up the house a little more. Groceries, cleaning, moving a few boxes around. Dana texted twice during the day with random vacation updates that I ignored. One was a picture of a slot machine. The other was a short video of her and her friends laughing at a restaurant table. Again, Travis was not visible, but by that point it did not matter. I already knew the truth. Her flight landed Sunday night. I did not hear anything until about 40 minutes after she got back to the apartment. Then my phone started ringing. Dana. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later it rang again. Then again. After the fourth call, a text finally came through. Where the hell are you and why is half your stuff gone? A few seconds later another message arrived. And why are my parents calling me asking why the wedding is canceled? Dana called 9 more times in the next 15 minutes. I did not answer any of them. Not because I was trying to punish her, but because I knew exactly how that conversation would go if it happened live. She would talk fast, interrupt constantly, and shift the conversation before anything actually got addressed. Text forces people to read what is written. So I finally replied. I kept it short. I told her I had seen the photos from the pool in Las Vegas, and that Travis was clearly sitting at the same table with her. I also told her I saw his story where she was sitting with him directly. Her response came almost instantly. She said I was being insane and paranoid. According to her, Travis just happened to be staying at the same hotel and ran into them by coincidence. She said Vegas hotels are huge and things like that happen all the time. The problem with that explanation was that it did not match what the pictures showed. So I sent one more message. I explained that if it had been a coincidence, she would have mentioned it the moment it happened. Instead, she said nothing, spent the entire weekend sitting with him, and continued pretending the trip was just a girl's getaway. Then I told her something else. I had already canceled the wedding. That message took about a full minute before she responded. When she finally did, the tone changed immediately. No more pretending nothing happened. She called me dramatic. She said I was embarrassing both of us. She said canceling the wedding over something this small proved I had serious trust issues. That was the moment I stopped the conversation. I sent one final message explaining that meeting her ex during a trip she specifically described as girls only was not small, and I had no interest in debating basic honesty with someone I was supposed to marry. Then I told her I had moved out and that the relationship was finished. After that, I blocked her number. Blocking Dana did not immediately stop the situation from escalating. About 10 minutes after I blocked her number, my phone started lighting up with calls from unknown numbers. At first I ignored them, assuming it was just her trying to reach me from someone else's phone. Then a voicemail came through. It was Dana. She sounded furious. She said blocking her was childish and that I needed to stop acting insane and come back to the apartment so we could talk like adults. According to her, I had completely blown a harmless situation out of proportion and embarrassed her in front of her parents. I deleted the voicemail without responding. Over the next hour, she tried several more numbers. I blocked each one as they appeared. Eventually, the calls stopped. What I did not expect was what happened next. Around 10 that night, my phone rang again, but this time it was a number I recognized. Dana's father. I answered because I assumed he just wanted to confirm everything that had happened. He did not waste time with small talk. The first thing he said was that Dana had just arrived at their house after leaving the apartment. Apparently, she went straight there once she realized I had moved out and that the wedding had actually been canceled. He also said she was extremely angry. Not sad, not confused, angry. According to him, she had spent the last 30 minutes complaining about how I had ruined her trip, humiliated her with her family, and overreacted to something she claimed was a harmless run-in with an old boyfriend. Then he said something that honestly surprised me. He told me he had asked her a very simple question. If Travis being there was really just a coincidence, why did she never mention it to me during the trip? And apparently Dana did not have an answer for that either. Her father and I spoke for maybe 5 minutes. He did most of the talking. I mostly confirmed details. I told him exactly what I had seen in the photos and on Travis's story, and I explained that I had already canceled the vendors and moved my things out of the apartment. He did not argue with any of it. In fact, he sounded more tired than anything else. At one point, he said something that stuck with me. He told me that Dana had always had a habit of thinking problems could be talked away if she pushed hard enough. According to him, she believed most conflicts were just misunderstandings that could be fixed by arguing long enough until the other person gave up. That approach might work in some relationships. It was never going to work in this one. Before we ended the call, he told me he was not going to pressure me to reconsider the wedding. He said if I had already reached a clear decision, dragging things out would only make the situation worse. Then he added something else. Apparently, Dana had tried to explain the Vegas situation several different ways while arguing with her parents. First, she said Travis just happened to be at the same hotel. Then she said he ran into them once at the pool. Then she said they only talked for a few minutes. The problem was that her own friends had already posted multiple pictures from the same day, showing Travis sitting with their group for hours. Her father said the story kept changing every time someone asked a simple question. When we hung up, I realized something important. The reason Dana was so angry was not because I had misunderstood the situation. She was angry because for once she had no control over the outcome. The wedding was already canceled. I had already moved out, and there was nothing left for her to argue her way back into. The next few days were quieter than I expected. Once Dana realized I was not going to answer calls or unblock her, the attempts to reach me slowly stopped. A couple mutual friends sent messages asking what had happened, but I kept the explanation simple. The wedding was canceled and the relationship was over. Most people did not push past that. One thing that helped was the timing. Because I canceled the vendors quickly, the news spread before Dana could create some alternative version of events. My parents had already told a few relatives. Her parents had clearly spoken to their side of the family as well. By the middle of the week, most people understood that the wedding simply was not happening. Dana tried one more indirect attempt to reach me through a mutual friend about 4 days later. The message was basically an offer to talk and clear up the misunderstanding. That wording alone confirmed I had made the right decision. Nothing about the situation was complicated. If someone tells you a trip is girls only and then spends the weekend sitting at a pool table with their ex, that is not a misunderstanding. That is a choice. I never responded to the message. Over the next couple weeks, I finished moving the rest of my things from the apartment while Dana was at work. The lease had both of our names on it, but since she wanted to stay there, transferring it fully to her ended up being simple. After that, the contact stopped completely. Looking back now, the strangest part is how calm the entire process felt once I saw that first photo. People imagine breakups like this being loud and chaotic. For me, it felt more like solving a problem once the final piece of information shows up. Dana went to Las Vegas thinking she could control the story. Instead, she came home to an empty apartment, canceled wedding plans, and parents asking questions she could not answer. And honestly, that was enough closure for me. Bye-bye.